Based on my pulling opinion, blah, 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 is Sparxie Bait. Okay, I actually wanted to dedicate the segment for you guys, because Daily Village has been going on for 2 hours, which is kind of crazy, but I wanted to dedicate a portion of HSR just to answer about Sparxie as well as Silver and everything. Right? The thing with this, whether or not Sparxie is bait, actually, you know what? Let me pull up some background music. Song request. Song request. Song request. Song request. No. Alright, there we go. Check it out here, ending. Okay, so the thing with this, whether or not Sparxie as well as Yao Guang, who is more important, right? I already made a dedicated, okay, that's fucking insane. I have already made a dedicated video right here. I literally went to break them down for like 2 different MOs specifically just for this topic, right? It is a 1 hour long absolute cinema. So if y'all want to see exactly how the comparison is going to be like, because I know a lot of people are probably asking this, slam that like, share, subscribe, leave a comment, leave a buggle button. Yo, Aka Suki, thank you so much for the 5 months. In the summary, right? I have a summary right here for y'all. All right. I have a summary right here for y'all. All right. So that's a summary. If you don't want to watch a 54-minute cinema, this is a summary, right? As of right now, you are dealing more damage with Yao Guang. But the main reason is also a little bit skewed, since our last slot for Elation is not determined. What EMC's role is able to do, if you were to replace Sparxie, that replacement serves more similarities compared to EMC replacing Yao Guang. Which is why the performance with Yao Guang EMC was slightly faster than Sparxie EMC, right? It is not to say that Sparxie is useless, right? It is that the current best in slot team is still ultimately Yao Guang and Sparxie, all right? That is like for the 2 units with Silver 9, right? You have 2 units. Those 2's best in slot is still Yao Guang and Sparxie. It is that if you don't have both and can only pick one, so for example, if you're a new player, right? If you're a new player and you pulled for Silver 9, you didn't pull Yao Guang and Sparxie back then because you wanted to wait. You wanted to wait and see what is Silver 9's kit, right? So for players like this, and you didn't pull for anyone at version 4.0, who should you pull after you saw Silver 9's kit? All right. So as of right now, right? As of right now, Yao Guang was better. Yao Guang is better, right? As of right now. But this might change because we still don't know who is Elation slot 4, which is a thing. So if the Elation slot 4 can also give us a shit ton of punchlines, then it is what it do, right? But at the end of the day, it is not that you will say Sparxie is homeless. It is more so that temporarily you can run a team with Yao Guang EMC to a higher performance compared to a Sparxie EMC, right? Best in slot, right? Best in slot is still Sparxie Yao Guang. That is the best in slot, right? So hopefully that answers your question. Okay, that is a great question. Is Yao Guang Tribby of Elation? That is a great question. The thing is, I can't really see Elation having the exact same format as Remembrance, because I think number one, companies know, right? Like they know that if they're gonna be doing the exact same formula, players would guess what they want to pull for, and then there won't be any element of surprise. Considering this is also Elation, right? So I don't think they'll follow the exact same footsteps. But as of right now, Elation's comparison with a Tribby is very bad, because Tribby can use a lot of areas, right? Especially E1 Tribby. You can fucking step on E1 Tribby to like half the team's HHR, but you don't really ever run Yao Guang outside of Elation. So if I were to make a comparison, it is less so Tribby and more so like Dahlia Fugue for Super League. Alright, so that is kind of how I say it would work. But I do have a note And the note is pretty much, if you were an E2 Silver Wolf main, right? I'm not talking about a free place. If you are an E2 Silver Wolf main, as of right now, it is almost impossible to hit 240 hidden MMR without Sparxie and no trade environments. It is almost impossible. So at that point, you really, really want Sparxie. Because the requirements for you to make full use of the E2 is at 120 and 240 respectively. So without set punchline generation, even if you were to take out Sparxie and you ran like an EMC, it still won't come close to that full potential. So for players looking into E2 Silver Wolf, I would say ideally you get both, so that you can at least maintain your punchlines. And then when the time the Elation Sustain comes in, because I have to make a logical guess that the Elation Sustain will also give you punchlines, right? It just has to. Because there's no way they designed E2 Silver Wolf to not get 240 consistently. There's just no way, right? So right now, E2 Silver Wolf's potential is like 75% there. Sometimes you can't even hit it. Even with a sustainer team, you can't even hit it. But other times, you hit it, right? So I think they will basically make that Elation slot for the sustain, someone that also gives you punchline, so you can actually make full use of E2 Silver Wolf, right? So that is going to be my 2 cents. I would say for like, out of all of the E2s, right? Silver Wolf's E2 is very interesting because it is really fucking good. It is game-breaking levels of good, right? It is like the same caliber as an E2 final, that kind of good, right? The problem with this E2 is that you can't run this E2 in a vacuum. You get what I'm saying? You have to kind of run this E2 with punchline generators. And if you do not have set punchline generators, then there's no point putting the E2. Like, if you would unlock this E2 and you can't hit 240 hit MMR, you only get 1 enhanced basic from your E2 itself, which is half the value of an E2, right? So it feels a little bit like, before even considering on going on for the E2, you really want to make sure that you are committed towards the Elation flagship. Like, you really, really want to play Elation. You make sure that you can consistently, within 3 Silver Wolf turns, hit 240 hidden MMR. If that is the logic, I will go for the E2 Silver Wolf. If you are not committed to Elation, right? Like, for example, right? If you want to play E2 Final, right? Let's say you play E2 Final. If you don't play Serija of E2 Final, you can still clear endgame content very, very well, right? I think we did it with like Bobby, right? We did a Serija-less E2 Final clear on Anomaly Arbitration without Serija, right? But if you don't have enough punchline generations for E2 Silver Wolf, it's like, ooh, that would be very, very rough. Extremely rough, right? So that is my 2 cents on that thing about, right? Thank you. See you guys on the clip channel from Mr. HSR, right?
You have cooled your last cool, my man.